Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Rhea Whitney podcast. I'm excited for this episode because I have one of my long-term photography friends here with me, Kanayo, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. But before, I'm just going to read a little bit about his bio because this just should be a fun episode. We're just going to be talking. I want you all to learn more about Kanayo, his approach, because he is such a dope shooter, y'all. Such a dope shooter. And just have some fun. Have some fun on this episode. So, Kanayo is a Washington, D.C. destination wedding and lifestyle photographer. He says his approach to photography is extremely artistic, photojournalistic, and arguably cinematic. With every shot he takes, he's constantly thinking of new ways to creatively tell the story using unconventional techniques and unique angles while creating that captivating feeling of presence when viewing his photos. His goal is to preserve your special moments by creating romantic yet visually striking imagery to be enjoyed for years to come. I love that. Yeah, I'm pulling this right from his website on his About Me page. And I just love that because it's so fitting of you, Kanayo. So, anyway, welcome, Kanayo, to the Rhea Whitney podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. Introduce yourself to the people.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
You're
Um,
welcome.
so like my bio says, my name is Kanayo. I'm a DC-based uh, photographer. I do everything from weddings to portraits to street photography to commercial work. Um, I'm low-key even a creative director. I've done some commercial work where I helped Nikon create product videography and photography for the Nikon Z6 III. Um, and I worked with, companies like with commercial companies like Nordstrom's and even the government like CDC for advertising and commercial promotions. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I
I'm also
love it.
I'm a Nikon speaker. I am a at some point I was an educator, speaking in multiple conferences and even having hosting workshops and so I've done a bunch of things. Yeah.
You really have. You really have. And I think that obviously what sets you apart is your like approach and your imagery. It always has and it always will. There's just something so special about your eye and how you see. So much so that I've come to your workshop a couple years ago. I was in the room. I bought a
Yeah.
20 millimeter lens just because that was what Kanaya was telling us again. It was like, okay. But I absolutely love watching your journey, love looking at your photos. They're just so epic and, like you said, artistically captivating. I would agree there. So I want to take us back a little bit. I want to talk about like your journey, how you got into photography. What was your intro to photography? I would love for you to share that with the people.
Wow. So how did you get started? So it started with my obsession with Apple. Um, I have a love for design, industrial design especially, and I was introduced to industrial design through Apple products. So I remember the initial the first iPhone came out and I just loved the device, but there's barely anything to do on it. It didn't have any real features. I mean, it had the iPod, it had the slow internet, and you could even send picture messages on it. But I loved the device so much. So I think initially I started, but it had a camera, so I needed an excuse to use the device, beyond listening to music. And the camera was there, and I started to play a lot with the camera and take pictures. And then I also developed this cycling hobby where I used to, cycle for long distances. I would bike from the city to work, which was like, I think it was like 17 miles each way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I worked in Baltimore City. I mean, I lived in Baltimore City, but worked in the county. So I'd actually bike from the city to the county. Yeah, by the
Mm.
Baltimore University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And um, I had my phone, and I what I started doing was I would document places I had been, but try to photograph it creatively. and make these, really interesting photos. I'll place my bike up on something and like, find a nice landscape frame to show Kanayo was here type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And once the App Store was released, I think on the second phone, either the 3G or the 3GS, I started like actually doing a whole bunch of editing with all these photography apps that were introduced for editing. I started editing on the phone, and so I'll take my pictures of where I've been and edit them on the phone and post to Facebook to kind of show this journey, this creative journey. And I started to get a lot of people like advising me to potentially take up photography as a hobby because I was producing a lot of interesting work on my phone at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Somewhat creative photos on the phone. And as new photography apps came out, I tried, they had apps that could do panoramic photos, and I'll try and do some interesting creative panoramic things. I was literally practicing how to become a photographer on my phone without actually thinking about it. I
Mm-hmm.
used to blog travel trips. I'll travel, and I went to London, I went to Budapest, and I documented the whole trip with the pictures, the camera phone. But had no true desire to go professional. It was because for me as a creative, a true natural, a natural creative where it's really about the appreciation for the art and less about the money and the business. I never really had the desire to do it for income. I wanted to do it because I enjoyed expressing myself creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Photography was my outlet. Prior to photography, I used to draw. So I started doing photography because it was a lot easier to draw an image to photograph an image than to draw it. So I used to do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of still life and like I'll sit dream up a scene and draw it. But now I'm like, I can just take a picture of the scene and it's done. So um it was my new way of creatively expressing myself. And then eventually my wife, who was my fiance at the time, gifted me a camera for Christmas. It was a Nikon D5100.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I guess I have a real camera now, because initially I looked into it and they were kind of pricey, They're not really pricey in comparison to the pro cameras when you think about it now. But like prior to that, like just the idea of spending, I can't remember how much it was, like maybe something less than 1,000, but like maybe like 700 and something on a
Yeah.
camera. Unbelievable. Like there's no way, especially at the income level we were at that point in our lives. It's like ain't no way I'm doing that on the camera. But my
Mm-hmm.
wife did it and gave it to me. So once I had that camera in hand, I was like, there's no excuse. Now I have the camera, so I might as well try and learn and do my research on what the prerequisites are to consider yourself a pro photographer. What do I need to do? What do I need to understand? So I went online and I found, different tutorials from different photographers and just started to follow that kind of stuff. And eventually, um, I bought some lenses and uh, had a friend who was doing a event. It was a birthday, and she invited me over as a guest. And I was like, I'll bring my camera, just to practice and see. Brought my camera, took photos. There was another pro photographer there who I actually knew, and he gave me a few pointers like, oh, this is how you do this and this is how you do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm shooting, 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 shooting. I go home. I edit the images, edited them my way because again, I didn't really have any influences on how to present my images. I just wanted to be creative, like my style, what I desire. So I had very interesting edits and with interesting choices on how I chose to expose and things like that. And I posted them on Instagram, and that same day, I started to get a lot of followers from photographers, and I'm like, what's going?
Mm.
Like other pro photographers just started following me and liking my photos and stuff. And I got a friend who hit me up. It's like, yo, can you shoot my own birthday? It's coming up in a few weeks. So I charged him, but I charged him like 150 or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had no context on what to charge, and also I shouldn't really be charging at that point because I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but I did it, and so he paid me, and I saved up some money and bought a different lens, because you learn the lenses you need and stuff. So I bought a different lens, took it to his event, and I shot that one. And when I gave him his photos, he's like, "Dude, you're gonna do my wedding." And I was like, and this is literally the second thing I've photographed.
Hmm.
I'm like, what? He's like, you're gonna do my wedding. I'm like, okay. So, but he's like, it's a year away. So you have enough time to practice. And that I did, you know. By the time his wedding came around, I had shot another wedding already. Off shooting somebody else's wedding as a guest. I had posted
Hmm.
those photos, blogged them, and I blogged them, and my website went crazy. Like I got so many views, so many views, and the cousin to the bride reached out to me. They also had another fearless photographer at their wedding. She reached out to me and told me she wanted me to do her sister's wedding, and they flew me out to Michigan. And I did that wedding. So my first wedding was officially a destination wedding in Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, I did those, and then um, it just from that point on, it just
Yeah.
has. So my friend's wedding, who I who booked me first, I eventually shot his wedding, and that wedding got published in Black Bride, and
You're
that wedding is
amazing.
yeah, my second wedding got published in Black Bride, and then that literally was like people. I remember people share that those photos went crazy. And I remember like photographers, Daniel T. Davis
Hmm.
saw the Black Bride publication, and he added me to Black Photographers Facebook group. Remember that?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's how I got introduced to Black Photographers Facebook group from that wedding that I shot that got published. Because back then, you know, being published was a big thing. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's
Hmm.
published!" Ooh, 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 you know. So
Hmm. Hmm.
now
Yeah.
we're like, whatever. But
Right. Right.
back then, oh my God, you were published at Mona Lucci. Oh, Black Bright, you know.
Yeah.
So I got pulled into the group, and then that's when I met you, met Tishawn, met all the the photographers who are really doing big things now. Like we literally all grew up together
Yeah,
in
we
that.
did. Yeah, this is so cool. Like, I don't think I really knew that story. Like, I didn't know, like, oh, you shot this friend's birthday party, and then like they were
Yeah.
like, oh, I want you to do my birthday party. Now you're doing the wedding, and the wedding got featured. Like, I think that is shows really the power of a true artist or creative, right?
Yes.
Like that, and you've always, from as long as I've known, you've always been that. Like you can tell that. I don't know, like there are some photographers who are more creative and
Hmm.
actually art like driven by the medium of photography. And then there are some photographers who I don't know, I don't want to say that like they're more business driven because that's not really what they are, but they I don't know, like they're I don't know. What I'm saying is your creativity has always shined through or shown through or whatever the word is. And I just really admire that. So that's really awesome. Some people work years to get their wedding featured, and
Right.
your second one was. So shout out, first of all, shout out to Nikon. We're both Nikon shooters. I have absolutely loved watching your journey with Nikon and how they pull you in for projects and seeing you on the Nikon stage and just like all the things. It's just been so cool to be there rooting you on. And so we love Nikon. So shout out to them.
Big
But
up, Nikon.
yeah, what'd you say?
I said, big up, Nikon.
Big up, Nikon. We love you. So you mentioned getting some lenses and how lenses is like truly the key, right? Like, yeah, you have the camera body and all that, but so what were your first purchases with your lenses? I want to know.
So I initially started off with so I had the crop body, you know, I had
Yeah.
a D 5100, then ended up buying another one that was a pro crop. I forget the designation. I might still have the camera here.
I forget
The
mine too. I think I had like a D300S. Not
hmm,
that wasn't my first one. My first one was like a 7100 or something.
the
And then I
7100 is the 7100, I believe, is the pro crop body.
crop sensor, yeah.
And it has all the pro you can
Yeah,
do a
the
lot.
but mm-hmm.
So that was the second camera I got after the D5100. And then I got like a 50 1.8. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was a 50, but on a crop it's a 85.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
had to learn that the hard way. But that particular lens, the that I so I also had the 17 to 55,
55. Yeah.
which was the equivalent of 24 to
24 to
70.
70. Mm-hmm.
I shot a lot with that first, but once I got the once I got the prime,
Mm-hmm.
I think that started to shape a lot about my understanding of lenses because I felt like the images I took with the prime were a lot more creative than the ones I took with the zoom lens.
For
Um,
sure.
they forced me to compose differently. I shot with so I was shooting an event with an 85, and I literally had the 85 on me, thinking it was a 50, but it was so tight. But what I
Mm-hmm.
found myself doing was I was like to get what I needed in my shots, I was changing angles and moving things around and trying
Mm-hmm.
to find interesting ways. And my images were looking so much different. They were like looking interesting because of that thing that's forcing me to think different.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
These constraints that I was given, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out, I'm trying to figure it out. But I noticed that the images were looking really interesting because of those unique angles that I was going with.
Yeah.
So fast forward to uh the pro body that I got. I think I went from that the 7100 to a D8. What was it?
Mm.
It was the
The
D810.
850, 810?
A10.
The
High, it was
810.
36 megapixel D810.
That's full frame.
Yeah, I jumped from that to the full frame, and that's when I really started to build my lens collection. I got the 20 millimeter. I got a so I started off with like the 20, the 58,
Mm-hmm.
45 tilt shift. Those were my
Mm.
three. I just used
Yeah.
those three lenses for the most part. And with each one of those lenses, I was able to I literally understood how my application of those lenses. Like if I saw a frame or an image I wanted to make, I could tell what lens was the lens for it because each lens kind of defined how it's like paintbrushes. They kind of defined how the image I was going to make was going to come out. Like I
Yes.
could tell, So
Yeah.
if I walked around with a couple and I say, "Hey, stand here," I don't have to figure it out. I know what lens this image is going to be because I understand how I'm going to apply it and how it's going to shape that image.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my 20 was really interesting because it allowed me, I felt like with the 20, I was actually creating the image because the image that came out of the camera was not what you were seeing with your eyes because
Mm-hmm.
the distortions of the lens allowed you to shape reality into something different.
Mm. Yeah.
Right? The 35 is a literal lens, 50 is a literal lens. When you use those lenses, what you see is essentially what you're getting. But
Mm-hmm.
20, you're able to trick the eye to see something else that's not really in front of you. Those distortions, if used correctly, you can shape reality and make it look really dynamic and like visually striking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I found that out once with one photo, and that photo changed my life.
Mm.
That photo, it really like I found it out by mistake because again, no formal training. You're just playing around with stuff, and I found this composition, and I took this image, and it just looks so dramatically different and
Mm.
interesting. And once I understood the parameters around that and how my distance from the subject changes things, and like how I can stretch the environment and things around it, it just gave me it literally, I think that was the beginning of me finding my style because I
Yes.
discovered that lens and how it could shape reality by mistake, and that lens started to like I started to use that lens on so many things and started to create images that were uniquely mine because the lens was driving that creation.
Yeah. I love that. I think that I that's my wish that more photographers were strategic and with like lens selection, with like settings. I find that like some people are just winging it, especially now that we have the mirrorless technology. I feel like it is such a cheat code
Yeah.
to wing it, you know what I mean? So okay, this is a good question. You talked about your style and how that lens started to shape your style. So do you think that every photographer should have a signature style like of work that they are known for?
So I think every artist should have one. Every photographer doesn't need to have one. It depends on what you consider yourself. Uh,
Hmm.
because I mean, being a photographer doesn't make you an artist. It just
Mm.
takes pictures, right?
Hmm.
Now, an artist is going to create unique, interesting, compelling work. Um, and there are going to be elements of art in it that make it art.
Hmm.
A lot of people take pictures They don't make them, they just take them and say they're an artist because they are presenting work in a medium that art is presented in. But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't equate to creating actual art. You know what I mean? If I gave a kid a camera and they had no sensibility about what they're doing and they just took a picture, does that equate to art or is that a picture?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, depending on how you want to define yourself, everybody doesn't need a style. They could just do what they want to do. But if you want to be unique, because again, there's a downside to being unique. You're not going to appeal to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to see your work and be like, that's interesting, but it's not for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who it's like a Walmart, right? You could appeal to a lot of people, right, because of your price, and there's no, you're an umbrella photographer. You do the kind of work that
Yeah.
fits into the general population,
Right.
you know, or you are somebody who's a niche because someone has to gel with you, your style
Yeah.
to come to you. And that would be like a certain kind of like clothes. You know, equate to Walmart to a specific clothing designer like a Rick Owens or people with really niche style, and you have to be that kind of person to maybe goth or something to want to wear those kind of clothes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it just depends on how you feel, and if you feel like you're an artist and you want to be unique, then yes, have a style. If you feel like you just want to blend in with everybody else and hopefully your differentiator will be your price and not your creative expression, then don't blend in. Don't don't have a
Don't
unique.
define the style. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just blend in and sell yourself based off price. And for me, it's I want my work and I want someone to see my work and want to be in it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then connect with me on that. And more usually when you find people who are like that, they give you freedom to do what you want to do and how you want to do it, and they're just happy to be
Yep.
there.
To be there. Yep.
Happy to be there, and those are the clients you want. You don't want the ones that try to shape you to do what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Um, so
I love that concept. So you mentioned like there are photographers who just take a shot and then there are photographers who make imagery, right? Um to your best of your ability. I know we're right here on Zoom together, but break that down a little bit more because I think that that deserves I would love to just hear your thoughts around that because I agree, right? Like you can get a photographer's in a room full, like, photographers in the same room shooting the same quote unquote scene,
mhm,
right? But everyone's perspective is different.
yeah.
And sometimes you're blown away by what you see someone else was able to create or make, let's say like that, that someone else was able to make because of their eye, because of their perspective, because of their ability to think through making an image, right? So I want to hear more about that.
So for me, I feel like there are a lot of photographers who they don't take a lot of things into considerations when they're making pictures. They primarily will focus on their subjects and not really consider anything else like
Mm-hmm.
outside of that as the subject. For me, I feel the subject is the entire photo. And honestly, most of my photos start with the scene before the even plug in it. I like the last thing I care about in my pictures are the actual people in it
Hmm.
when making the photo. I clearly care about my clients, but for me, the foundation of the photo starts with the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I usually start off walking around and identifying my scene and the elements that I need in the photo. Be it interesting light, simple background, or unique, interesting background. All the compositional elements, leading lines, um, frames, texture, things like that. So because what happens is I don't hide behind a shallow depth of field. A lot of people do. They shoot F1 and just blur everything else in the background because they don't want to think about that. And also, yeah, bokeh looks pretty. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but even when I use bokeh, there's still like consideration about what's behind because I want you to look at the picture from front to back and feel like everything was put in there intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
and not just, hey, stand here and they focus on you and take a picture of you. And it's, the only thing is once you look at the person, you don't think about, like, you kind of like don't care about what's behind because there's nothing interesting going on. When I
Mm-hmm.
take pictures, the entire scene, from front, foreground to background, is all given consideration. And elements that show up there are intentionally showing up there because I want them to be in there. They add
Mm-hmm.
something, be it graphically, um, just to make it a whole and exciting image front to back. And I think it was Ryan Bryners. I remember saying, um, images taken in F16. If you can pull off an image in F16, you've really done something. Because when it's in F16, everything is sharp. You see
Everything.
everything. You're not hiding behind 1.4. Everything is sharp, and everything. If you pull it off, and everything is you take everything into consideration, you would have a very, very strong image. Because
Hmm.
you might have like a person walking back there that's distracting, or cars that are distracting. But if you're able to compose this image, a clean image from front to back, where everything is interesting, then someone gets to visually read that image from front to back and feel like they've gotten something from it. You know what I mean? So I took that seriously, and um, basically every image I make is the whole scene, front to back, is given equal consideration. Um, and I feel like that's what makes a lot of my images interesting. If I don't want something there, then I will compose it out, and or use, like, light, to hide it, like, hard light, where things are blacked out behind, and just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, stuff like that. So I play those games. Um, and I think that's kind of like the difference. A lot of people don't think about the full picture. They just focus on, oh, let me get quick photos of these people looking nice.
Mm-hmm.
And not, let me create this interesting image.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of like how I see that.
I love that. I really do. I think that that's helpful. So I'm going to tell people right now, wherever you're listening, whether you're listening on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, doesn't matter. Go to the description and click on Kanayo's website. Like, I think that hearing what he's saying while also looking at his portfolio really helps to connect the dots in his approach. And I think it's worth studying or at least reviewing and taking into consideration. I know. So for me, we've known each other. We were talking about this before we started the podcast recording, but I think we met in like what, 2014? I don't know. It was a while ago, right?
Yeah.
Um and I'll speak for myself. I was a baby in it. I was just fresh out the womb, I guess, in some ways. So I think that I'm so grateful for like the photography community that we built early on, especially being wedding photographers in DC. Like, I truly tell everybody, like, the start of my wedding journey was truly the definition of iron sharpens iron. Like, I don't think that we had much of a chance to be piss poor, truly,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're thinking about you, Terry, Iris. We had Josh, Dwayne would step down and do DC. Amy would be in DC. We had, who am I? G Day. We had
Kurt,
Kurt.
Kurt,
Oh my God, Kurt.
Christopher,
Like,
Jason, Ashley Bing.
Ashley Bing, right? Like, just literally sharp
Yeah,
shooters.
it was so competitive in the sense that
So
there are
so competitive.
too many good people, good photographers in the same space, and
Or
yeah, it was. But the good thing about it is we were all friends.
yes,
So it didn't feel like true competition. We were just,
yeah,
hey, today I'm shooting for me, you're shooting for me, tomorrow I'm shooting for you, so,
yeah.
and we're all like learning, and, oh, I can, we're bouncing referrals off each other and stuff. So it was a community, but you had too many talented people serving uh, the same
Market, yeah.
market. So,
With
but
totally different approaches. I think totally different not totally. I think it runs a spectrum, but different styles of work, different approaches. But like, I think that what made it really special for me when I think back on it was just we were authentic to who we were, but I still think we placed ourselves in rooms and in spaces to continue to grow from each other,
Mhm.
right? Like to be able to become better from each other, like from a literal creation standpoint.
Yeah.
You know? So
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
was
like majority of the DC folk, like a large number of them took my first workshop. You
mm,
know, you
yeah,
guys, yeah, it was a
we were
big.
there.
You guys took my first workshop. And that was cool as hell to get that kind of support. From your competitors, like
Yeah.
that was cool. And we just all shared information and brought everybody else. Like we all pulled each other into the as we one of us moved up, we pulled each other into those same spaces.
Yeah.
It's amazing where we've come, like how
Yeah.
far, especially the people in that group. It's like
Yeah.
there are a lot of photographers everywhere, right? But I don't know them. But I know I see the people that came up in that group with me in the places that I'm going.
Yeah.
The WPPIs and all the conferences and working with brands. A lot of the people who are ambassadors right now are the people in that group.
Yep.
So that we're all friends. So it's like
Yeah.
you go to these conferences and you see someone on stage and you go shake him out and like the brand, like someone from like maybe somebody in Nikon, oh, you know him? I'm like, I know, dude. I taught this guy everything he knows. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, we know each other. We all know each other because we
Hmm.
all literally grew up together. And I think we are all here in this space because of each other.
Yeah, yeah. And
You know what I mean?
it's
Like,
really cool to see how so many people have pivoted and changed and how they've allowed different things to come to fruition in how they show up in their photography business or in their photography art or whatever. I want to ask you a question because we talked about taking a photograph and making a photograph and how that plays a role in weddings, like how that has shaped you, in your wedding photography career and journey, because weddings are so fast paced and they're so, in some ways, unpredictable in the pace of the day.
Mhm.
So, talk a little bit about that.
um, so for me, I am the same person. It doesn't matter where or what I'm shooting. I still have the same approach.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm a street photographer, right? And there's a lot that I learned from street photography. One, being able to pull something meaningful out of chaos, variability and chaos.
Hmm.
Because the streets it doesn't make any sense when you zoom out of it, right? But you can find meaning in a frame. When
Mm-hmm.
you hone in on something, you can find meaning in there. And because my style is aesthetic, I'm not just plain documentary. Like I'm not just shooting for moments. I'm shooting for moments that are framed beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still the consideration for the space. Um, so because I'm able to work in that kind of variability and chaos, I'm also equally able to work in the variability and chaos of a wedding. It's
Mm-hmm.
practice,
Mm-hmm.
practicing on the street for a more scripted event that's easier because you kind of know what's gonna happen. You can anticipate what's gonna happen because you've seen it several times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's gonna walk down the aisle, somebody might cry,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the key players that you look for that are the main characters in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to hone in and anticipate certain things. For me, my ability to make portraits in random spaces is something I practice with one of my good friends, Douglas Poley. He's a photographer from New Jersey. That's I kind of also like came up with in a sense. We
Mm-hmm.
had similar styles and we used to spend like anytime I would go to like where is he? He's in there's a I forget the place in Asbury Park, New Jersey. When
Mm-hmm.
I whenever I would visit Asbury Park and I'd visit him and sometimes we even shoot together like at weddings, we would just walk around with our cameras and make portraits of each other, creative portraits on the street, anywhere. It doesn't matter. We always tried creative things. And what that was doing was building up a skill set to not have to scout. I've never scouted. I've never scouted an event, a wedding. I've never shown up to do a walkthrough in my whole entire career. I have never done that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because on the day of, at the time of the portraits. I can identify what I need at that very moment because I have practiced that over and over and over again
Mm-hmm.
casually,
Mm-hmm.
shooting in neighborhoods, in alleyways, and and if you remember my workshop, we just went outside and I told someone, lead the way, walk anywhere, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
That's the same mindset I've taken to weddings and portrait sessions. We'll figure it out
Mm-hmm.
because the environment will inspire the photo. I don't know what the photo is going to be, but I'm going to find elements that spark creativity that allow me to envision something different that I've never done before. And that will give you that new photo today that I've never made before because it's a new scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's the same thing with weddings. You have 5 minutes to get the shots. Well, okay, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and just use because I don't have rules with how I like some people have, oh, traditional photos. You got to take these photos, they got to do this, they got to do that. I don't approach it like that. I just need to make art.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as long as I make the art, we're good because the people who hired me to make the art,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't box myself in and say, oh, I must get these certain types of photos. No, I don't. I must not. I just must make art. So as long as I have that 10 minutes to walk through as I'm walking, I can create something unique that's mine and give it to them, and they're happy, usually happy with that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
I
that's
love
basically,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I love it. And I think that what I love the most is that you're confident and true to who you are. And I feel like more people need to lean into that.
yeah,
Their art, their style, right? Their process,
yeah,
or whatever it might be, and stop trying to, in some ways fit in a box that you
yeah,
might see, right?
yeah,
Like create your own box.
yeah,
Be outside of the box and be
yeah,
okay with being outside of the
yeah,
box.
yeah.
Um, and then I also really love that you mentioned practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like your practice helps you to then day of or with the client session or whatever be able to execute confidently, calmly, in your flow, right? And it's so funny. Right before we got on this, I made a TikTok about more people, they don't practice enough. They want to
Yeah,
play the game, but you play how you practice. And if you don't practice, then the playing becomes practice and it could be sloppy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And I think that like that's something to take away. I think that's why like workshops, conferences, being friends with other photographers that even have varying styles of work really pushes you. Because like anytime I'm with y'all, like till this day, we could be at WPPI this last year, it doesn't matter this year, wherever we're at, y'all are going to be walking around creating creative portraits of each other, shaping light, doing something fun, trying a new thing out, and it's just the practice of it all, right? And it's not always about like producing in that moment something stellar, but if something stellar comes out of the practice, then hey, that feels good. So yeah, what piece of advice would you give to photographers who actually need to practice more?
I think if you're new to photography or not, you just feel like you want to sharpen up your skills. Um, you definitely need to embody the mindset of, you don't do photography as a job, you are a photographer.
Hmm.
Like, is your lifestyle. I remember my early days, I always had a camera on me. Um, and I took it everywhere. It didn't matter where I was going. I had my camera, my little camera bag. I had a small camera, and I just took it everywhere. And I wanted I told myself that photography isn't what I do, it's who I am.
Hmm.
And I would, be driving and like looking outside on the road and seeing images that I could be making in these places and just getting accustomed to seeing patterns that I could see in multiple places. So when I showed up in that place on this day, I saw that automatically could see the image. You know, people ask, how'd you see all these leading lines and how'd you find all these things? I'm like, I don't even have to look. They just appear because I've seen them so many times that I can see leading lines when I walk into a room. I can see lights when I walk into a room. I can see frames. All the elements are just jumping out at me because I've seen them so many times. I practiced looking at them to now I don't even have to. You know how they say, I can't unsee it. I've seen it now.
And
Now I
unsee it.
can't unsee it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially that's what it becomes is you start to see compositions everywhere you go. And it's just like, oh, okay. When I'm walking into the hotel to go see the bride for the first time, I've already seen some of the places I could take the pictures without actually looking because I'm like picking my brain is just picking up these things as I'm going upstairs. So um I would say if you like to travel, do travel photography, even if you're a wedding photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Document tell the story of your trip like you would tell the story of a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Practice that process. If you like street, then just shoot street. You know what I mean? Shoot it. You would learn how to document better. You learn how to find moments because you're finding those things in a more complicated environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but those were the things I did. I would shoot my trips. I was never in any photos because I was always documenting the people I was with.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to tell the story from like when we get to the airport, so someone could actually, and I would blog it, so people could follow it and feel, oh man, I felt like I went on a trip with you guys. I would get that kind of feedback, and that's the same mentality I took to my weddings. You know,
Yeah. So good. That is so good. Listen, so get out of your genre, get out of your niche sometimes, have a little fun, practice, do different things because it's going to help you see things in repetition. Like you said, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I think that that's so true. Like my eye as a photographer
yeah.
is so different and trained. And like I see stuff, and even my friends, they'll be like, girl, you being a photographer again. And it's like, it's in me. It's who I am, right? Like truly it is. I always have a tool in my hand, whether it's this tool, like the phone,
Mhm.
or it's the
Mhm.
tool of the camera. You know what I mean? So I love that. Okay. So let's end with some quick rapid fire questions. These just are quick and fun. We've been talking about like style and stuff. So let's just do it. Okay. Prime lens or zoom lens?
See, I have two answers for that,
Okay.
but honestly, the best answer I would say is prime.
Okay. What's your
Zoom is
thought on Zoom?
Zoom is for when you're old and lazy, and
Mhm.
you already know what you're doing, which most of us are right now. So, when you're doing an event and it's easy and you're old and you've proven yourself and you don't really care. But what if you care, Prime? If you don't, Zoom.
But let me take it one step further. I bet money on your zoom lens, you're still looking at the barrel and you're still looking at how far the millimeters are out.
Oh, absolutely. I keep it on 35. But
See, I know. And this is the thing. When you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. And there's some people that just zoom, they just be zooming, zoom. They never look at the barrel. You can still shoot at 35 on the
yeah.
24 to 70. Okay. You can still, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still
Yeah.
possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunset session or studio light?
Sunset session.
Okay. What's one thing in your camera bag that you just could not live without?
My 35 millimeter lens.
Okay. I love that. 35. It doesn't matter the aperture, but is it 1.8, 1.4?
My 35 is a 1.8 because I later on in life I got cheap. So I'm like, I don't need
Let
one.
them know,
I
Kanayo.
should
Let them know. Yes.
I shoot my 35 at one point. I shoot my 35 on f4 indoors and like outdoors I might do f8. So I don't need 1.4. I don't hide behind shallow depth of field. So
Mic
I don't
drop.
need
Mic drop. I love that answer. Okay, what's a dream photography destination for you?
um dream photography destination. I feel like I already went there. Uh
Oh,
Cuba.
Cuba. Oh, we
Yeah,
had a time. The
Cuba.
memories.
Cuba. We had a time. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean another well, yeah, it's Cuba. It's always Cuba. Cuba is just the place, especially because it's for street
For
photography.
street. Yeah. The
It's
colors, the culture, the action.
yeah.
Yeah. Really
Um
cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine anywhere else that. I mean, maybe like somewhere like maybe like a Bali, maybe like a Thailand might be dope or Japan or something. But
I was about to say somewhere in Asia, like Hong
with all of
Kong
it,
or
yes, it might be cool. But Cuba is next level, man.
I love that. Okay, and lastly, what's one piece of advice that you would give to a brand new photographer today?
Um, one piece of advice. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I would say to shoot street.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think everyone needs to shoot street photography. It builds so much. It gives you so much character.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Y'all, Kanayo had a shooting street in Cuba. First of all, we went on this like cruise. Again, we're dating ourselves. We went on this photography cruise. It was like a conference on a cruise. It was epic. Literally, I'm talking to you. I'm like, how can we do that again? We need to do that again. But anyway, so much fun. So the cruise went to Cuba, and there were like a couple of like photo walks that you could choose, and I think it was like three. I don't even know, but everybody. 75% of the people chose Kanayo's photo walk. Okay.
That was hilarious. That was crazy. Some people said, you know what, I'm gonna go over there. I want to do yours, but I'm gonna go over there just so they don't feel bad, But I really want
Yes.
to do yours. And
It
everybody,
was
like the whole photo came with me. The whole conference almost came with me. That was crazy. I mean,
it
that
was
was
crazy. And but the funny thing is like when you're shooting street, like the idea of it is that you want to be discreet, right? Like you want to kind of be, like you want to blend in with what's happening. You don't want to be standing out. And it was like 25 of us trying to shoot street, following Kanayo. And it was just like such a memory, so epic. He was so at first you were patient and then you started to get really frustrated because you were like, I'm trying to shoot too. And it was just so fun. But just really good memories. So anyway, I've tried my hand and it was cool. I think that I respect street photographers. I respect the medium of street. I think it's really epic. And I would agree with you. It definitely builds a character. It builds your eye. It has you anticipating moments. It helps you see framing, colors, repetitive things that happen, and I think that I would agree. It's not my genre of choice, but I can understand how it could create a sharper photographer, a sharper
yeah.
creative. Um, so
I would say like you have to. So for you, you did it that one time. Right. And I know I'm saying this because you say it's not yours, but it is. It can be, right? The problem
Okay.
is you have to once you hone in, once you understand what you're actually doing. Because I
Hmm.
feel like even in the street, right, people could be like photographing what they're seeing. Because
Hmm.
you could still create your own street image. Like it's like you create it with anticipating what you want to happen versus proving it, right?
Hmm.
So you literally sit here and say, okay, I like this scene, but wouldn't it be nice if somebody wearing a red shirt showed up here and matched with that red thing door there? And
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And you literally will wait till it happens.
Hmm.
When it does happen, because it's amazing how it works. It's like the God, there's the law of attraction applies is weird, but
Hmm.
you can create, you can visualize the shot you want to happen, and if you wait long enough, that shot appears. It happens.
Hmm.
And that's the rewarding part, right? But then what we were doing in Cuba, a lot of times we were photographing what we were seeing
Hmm.
because again, we're moving fast. We have a lot of people, so you're literally letting the scene dictate to you what you're going to take.
Yeah.
The true street is creating the image by with patience.
Hmm.
It's not the true street. There are multiple ways you can do it, but one of the ways that's rewarding, one of the most rewarding ways is visualizing the photo you want to happen and be staying there long enough till it happens. So you can know that like, and then when you make that photo, it's like super rewarding because that was the photo you wanted to make, and the universe aligned.
Hmm. I love that.
There's stories of photographers who have come back to the same place multiple times, trying to make the image that they want to make, and it then
And
one day it clicks and boom, they make that image. And then when you see that image, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe how did
it's
he make that? Because you think it just happened that one shot, but it took hours, it took days,
Mhm.
and it's not staged. So it's like super rewarding when you're able to do that. So that's the other side that a lot of people new to street don't see is the side that it's you either like stumble on something super unique, super one off, or you visualize it and you wait for it to happen.
Mhm.
Sometimes you see mimic gestures, like there's a picture on the wall and somebody that walks by doing the exact same gesture that is being done there. and you waited for that person maybe smoking, and it's a cigarette commercial up there. You waited for the guy who's smoking to walk by, and you take the picture at that time, and because you wanted that scenario to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the other side of the street that a lot of people don't know about, and that's the side that will feel very rewarding when you actually do it, because it's like it's a whole different way of making pictures.
Right. I love that. Different perspective. Man, you really inspired me today. I really appreciate you being here on the podcast, taking the time out. Y'all, I'm going to drop Kanayo's website, his Instagram handle, all the things. So definitely give him a holla, let him know you listened to this episode. Thank you so much, friend, for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure always.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'll catch you guys in the next episode, and I'll catch you, Kanayo, on the other side of this recording. Okay?
Awesome. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.